In today's segment, I'd like to talk about what I learned from being busy slash my tax season. Now, for many of y'all in here, you think that, we all think that getting busy sidetracks us from our main focus or our way of being in life. And, ups and downs are certainly a part of life. And you just kind of have to prepare for them. So I thought I'd kind of maybe go over some lessons that I learned and maybe you can kind of relate them to yourself as far as, oh, that makes sense. I'm not the only one going through that kind of mentality. So I think one of the things I learned from being busy slash tax season is preparation is a large part of your success. And what I mean by that is that, I think about 60, 70% of what I do is just preparing. So, and, and when I get to the actual event or the busy event, as far as, preparing someone's taxes or whatever industry you're in, you'll definitely be a lot better off because there's all sorts of like contingencies and all sorts of ways that, the conversation or the subject you're doing can kind of veer off. And if you plan for those, whether, like I said, whether it be taxes, whether it be, if you public speaking or whatever it is, whatever your gig is, if you anticipate them, you can plan and prepare. Okay, if this happens, then I can do this, or whatever. And you'll definitely be a lot better off, and you'll definitely look like you know what you're doing. But we all have our moments where of folly that we just kind of get silly and whatever. But a large part of my preparation comes in November and December of the previous year. So that way, I'm getting my Excel sheets ready and getting a list of people and what they're going to need and so forth. So that way I know that when it comes time to do their stuff, I'm ready for it. And I know they need this document and that document and, so on and so forth. And that'll definitely help you. And also just working your calendar as well. If you know a deadline is going to be this date, or if somebody says, to me, this is important, then you want to do, obviously you want to cater everyone to a certain extent. And some people are a little more fussy than others. So if that's the case, well, certainly you want to kind of prepare for that because there's always, the 80-20 rule that 20% of your people cause 80% of your problems. And, these aren't necessarily bad people, but some people just have their proclivities that they're really focused on, in my scenario, getting their taxes done on time, or if you're, or you there being there on time, or whatever it is your job, that certain person is focused on that. Now, don't take away that person is just like any other customer. They're not bad. We all have our little weird proclivities in life, and you kind of have to just cater to that. And so definitely take those matters into account. Even though some people know you will be busy, they want to get attended to because they think that they're the only person in the world. But and that's kind of going back to my point one is that certain people have certain proclivities. They want it done now. That do they pay? Yeah, sure, they pay. They may not pay the best, but it is what it is. And you'd really be surprised that things like please, thank you, and I'm sorry go a very long way in business. So, I would like to think that we're all doing the best we can, but there's only 24 hours in a day, right? And we all have our clients that are just equally as important. And between you and me, let's be honest here, we're all going for money, and that's a necessary part of business. And obviously, you want to get to those accounts that pay better, right? We all have bills to pay. I have a telephone bill. I have a mortgage payment. I have kids I need to take to school, et cetera, et cetera. So if it can be expedited, obviously I'm going to take care of those customers that pay more first. All customers are equally important. I want to solve everyone's problems, but let's be honest here. Do the best you can, just basically. Put your faith in God. I don't know what your expression or what your modality is, but just get it done. That's all there is. No excuses. The next point I'd like to think about is always learn. And, we think because we're of a certain age, 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond, we think we know everything. And that's not true. Always be sharpening that so-called knife, so to speak. always be learning more, getting more information. In my scenario, taxes are always changing. And whatever scenario you're in, whether it be public speaking, whether it be cleaning houses, whatever it is, you're an optometrist, whatever it is, always learn, because we always get stuck in a rut as far as sticking to our norms as far as what we know and what we learn, and then somebody throws you a curveball and you're not prepared for this question or this problem. So I'll always be breaking out, always be trying new things, and always be learning. And in your spare time, learn about the subject, because you're going to be doing it the rest of your life. So get really good at it and know everything you can about it. And one of the things I always tell people is that get comfortable with being uncomfortable and anticipate everything, because things always change. And in my scenario, taxes will always change. And one of the last points I can tell you is that even though things will always change, stay focused on your mission. In my scenario, it's getting the taxes done. Somebody may call me and I may be sidetracked with a project that they need done now, even though it's not due for 2 months. But getting back to my other points, you say please, you say thank you, you say I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can. And I think as long as you communicate to people, say, hey, I'm doing the best I can. They understand. They understand you're busy. And if they don't understand, apologize and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can here as far as getting your job done. Just kind of bear with me if you can, and we'll do the best we can. I promise you I'm getting to it. And just be honest with them. Hey, look, I've got kids I need to take to this practice, or kids I need to take to school. I've got a sick kid. And look, if I'd like to think 99% of people understand. There's always that 1% where it's just like they need it now because they have an emergency. And I get it. I understand. But there's always, if they don't have an emergency, well, they're not real people and they're not real long-term clients. And you have to learn to say no to people. And, I think as long as you communicate to people what's going on, the situation, things like that, and they're communicated to as far as, hey, this guy or this girl is not screwing around, this person's not, goofing off my work, they'll understand. So I guess just kind of in summary, there's a lot of lessons that can be learned. Like I said, preparation, just kind of making sure they're attended to, always learning, and staying focused on your mission. Hopefully this helps you out. Certainly, if you like us, you love us, click the like and subscribe button. You're always welcome to comment. I'm always here to help, and let me know. But just a little bit about me. Myself and my partner, we have a bookkeeping business, 15 years of experience. So we've been thrown almost every curveball, not everyone, but we're fairly up there. But check us out, www.metroacc.com. Until next time.